Welcome to another intentional pour by Graceful Artisans. I've covered my canvas in white. It's a small canvas, 30 by 30, and I'm hoping to pour it out to form a bloom, which I will transform into doves like that painting up there. That was bigger, it was on 50 by 50. So the colours I'm using today are more in the red range, and the first one I'm using is a permanent red violet, this one, although it's more violet than red, I think, and then a transparent red. And because those two are both transparent, I've added a Liquitex Prussian blue, which is opaque, because I want the pearlescent white to show up and also the gold. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to pour them, I'm not going to pour them out, I'm going to drip them out with this palette knife, as I want thin streams. So I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to put the phone down and then I'll bring you back. Turn the volume off so you don't have to listen to the noise, but you can just watch me. Well, that did not go entirely as planned, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to just turn this into a bloom because I like the marks that the blooms had. And then once it's dry, I'm going to shape it into birds. So it's an intentional pour of another variety. So first of all, I'm going to just do each bloom. So that will be one bloom into the center. And these marks may hold or they may not hold. It doesn't matter because if they hold, good. If not, well, that's just too bad. And this will be going all the way down. Some of them seem to be forming their own little blooms. And so I'll continue. I don't have time now. I need to go out, and by the time I get back it will probably be set. But that's okay. I've decided that I will just paint around and make the birds where there are marks. Doesn't matter if they remain, that's great. If not, that's also fine. But what I like is the cells and lacing that are forming, and I don't really want to disturb them. So I want it to just dry. And then take what there is, and either I'll shape it into multiple birds sitting on a branch, or branches like that one, or I'll do one bird in flight, which I think would look very, very pretty. It doesn't have to be a dove, it can be a red cardinal, any kind of bird. But I think with the mixture of blue and red, which is really lovely, and some mauve here and there, and then the pearlescent and the gold. It's a deep gold, but it doesn't really show that much. Not right now. Maybe when it's dry, it will show more. Right now, all I can see is down here. And maybe a bit there and there. But I wasn't very heavy-handed with the gold, and I say I was very light. I didn't put a lot down. Because I was really focused on the pearlescent. That's what I wanted to come shining through. And hopefully that will. So we'll see what happens once it's dry. Well, it's a little bit difficult. I'm not sure that I'm using the right colour, the pearlescent. I don't know how it's going to look once it's dry, but I've made a rough outline of part of it. And now I'm just going to drag that colour in a bit. I don't want it to be a line. I want it to just blend in with the other colours. And it's very thin and very light, so it should blend in. Of course, one doesn't know how it will look when it's dry. I put the eyes in there, but needless to say, I will have to put in some blue into those eyes, and maybe some red into the beak, just to make it clear. And then the feathers, well, the wings, yeah, I could make the wings going down this way a bit more. I'm gonna just first do the tail, because I want to include as much of this lower section in the tail feathers as possible. Well, the pearlescent paint is very, very thin when you paint it on, so I'm not sure how much you can see. I first just started with an outline, and then that really looked like nothing much. So then I actually painted on the wings and the body and the tail, and even that is very transparent. You can't really see much from the first layer. And then the decision is to maybe paint away what remains of the painting, so that the bird becomes more visible. And so I'm going to do that before I add on another layer of the pearlescent, because if I add another layer of the pearlescent, then it's very probable that I might cover all the lovely colours underneath and the cells and lacing, and I don't want to do that. That's how my dove has turned out so far. It's a very dark, rainy, grey day outside, and so the light is really poor in every room except in the kitchen, where I've got 2 bright lights, but not the room that I want to paint in. So I'm just showing you what it looks like in the light. So some of my videos have turned out to be rather a grey colour, because I've been painting in the grey light, even though I was next to the window. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it to dry now, because I think I've got the shape of his head right, which I struggled with. It was looking too round. And from the angle of this photo, it was, this is the look it had. And the other thing is, I haven't sketched on the claws yet, which are tucked in underneath, although they do stick out if you're looking at the dove from underneath. And I haven't covered too much of the tail, because otherwise I'm going to lose all of that lovely lacing and the pearls. So I might just come with a second layer just as outlines around the feathers, and just part of the way up, not all the way, to make them more distinct, and maybe on these feathers as well. I mean, I can see the markings here, but I'm not sure how that would look on a wall if you would actually see those markings. It's interesting, it's different, but I think I'll see it when I see it in proper light, then I'll know, because after all, once the painting is on the wall, like that painting, you don't really see, unless there's a light in front of it, you don't really see all of the details very clearly. But anyway, I think it's different, it's interesting, and an interesting use of the intentional pouring of paint, just to get interesting colors and color combinations that you wouldn't get if you painted with straight acrylic or oil. The painting has dried and it looks quite nice. The pearlescent turned out to be much more opaque than I thought. I thought it was really going to be very transparent, but clearly the light I was working in was not that great, or it just has darkened a lot more than I expected. So you can still see the colors underneath, and they are very pretty. But where I do want it darker, it isn't dark enough, so I'm going to have to put another layer just on the edge of the feathers, and then add some color to the eyes, either the gold or the pearlescent, and then some claws over here, just sort of tucked in. So that's what I'm going to do, and then maybe I should just use plain white rather than the pearlescent to mark the edges of the bird. And in fact, that's what I think I'll do. Mix some solid titanium white with the liquid white that I had, and with this filbert brush, I'm going to now just sort of outline the feathers a bit better. And I don't want to do it everywhere, just the outline there. So that it's not just all pearlescent. And there's a bit of contrast. And around the body. Just like that. I mean, it's abstract realism, but I still want it to look a little bit like something meaningful. And I'll just do it I can see there where the points are. I'll just do it like that, not take it all the way. It does need a bit over there. Mix some solid titanium white with the liquid white that I had, and with this filbert brush I'm going to now just sort of outline the feathers a bit better. And I don't want to do it everywhere, just the outline there. So that it's not just all pearlescent. And there's a bit of contrast. And around the body. Like that. I mean, it's abstract realism, but I still want it to look a little bit like something meaningful. And I'll just do it I can see there where the points are. I'll just do it like that, not take it all the way. It does need a bit over there. That's the titanium white I added on, and I think it improved it somewhat. I can't say I'm totally delighted with this painting, but now I learned that outlining with pearlescent was probably not a good idea, which is a pity. I really thought it was going to look amazing, but maybe it'll look fine once it's dry. I don't know. I added in some retracted claws there, and then I kind of blurred them over a bit so that they're not so obvious, because you wouldn't really see them from a distance. The bird flying up in the air. And so that's my pigeon in pearlescent and red. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing if any of you have tried doing anything similar. Bye for now.